Welcome to Western Kentucky University Reports. I'm Jim Wayne Miller. Robert Penn Warren and Jesse Stuart, distinguished American poets and novelists, have written often of their native Kentucky. Stuart, from Greenup County, Kentucky, has always written of his home place and his people in the Cumberland foothills. Warren, a native of Guthrie, Kentucky, and the only American writer to win Pulitzer Prizes for both poetry and fiction, has frequently drawn on his home state and region for materials and inspiration. Recently, we visited with both Jesse Stuart and Robert Penn Warren. First, in a discussion with Dr. James Heldman, head of the Department of English at Western, Mr. Warren told how a verse play with which he was dissatisfied evolved into his famous novel, All the King's Men.
Key was the notion that a man comes to power, a Hitler, a Stalin, any man of power, because he fills some need and preys on some weakness of people in his context. They need him. People get what they deserve in the way of government. It's their weakness or their debility or their vice that brings the man to his role. It's one view of history anyway. Anyway, the needs of the people around my character gave me the new story, the novel story, as opposed to the play story. And that was a shift on that basis. The narrator being the chief person whose need was fulfilled by politician.
Then you didn't envision it, of course, originally that Jack Burden would loom as largely as he finally does in the novel at the time you began to work with him there?
No, I did not. It was only a convenience in the very first moment. Somebody controlled the story, as it were, some point of view from which to see the story. And with a vague general idea, he helped me locate the context. But quickly you discover, if you're writing a story, that the narrator has to be involved more or less to make it important. Otherwise, why is he telling the story? Mm-hmm. And so he became, very quickly, the person whose need was fulfilled most completely by the politician.
And his need, of course, has to be explained as well.
Has to be explained. Mm-hmm. So then you have to invent a world for him to come out of, and to explain him. And so this counterpoint grew out of that situation, the counterpoint between his story and Stark's story. Very often, you find a technical problem leading to the content, even, of a story.
Jesse Stuart is Kentucky's poet laureate and one of America's most anthologized writers. Although he is at home in Kentucky, his books, translated into 15 languages, are at home all over the world. I talked with Jesse Stuart about a decision he made early in his career.
The typical situation of writers, it's been reported over 40 or 50 years in America, is to come out of the Midwest or come out of the South and head for New York City.
That's right.
Well, you didn't go that route.
No, no. I didn't go to Hollywood either.
You didn't go to Hollywood
I was
and
offered
write
a place
scripts.
there and good money, but I didn't go.
You went back to Kentucky.
I went back and lived within a mile of where I was born.
Yeah.
On the same land where 5 generations of us have lived. And I think it's a good place. In fact, I love it. I don't stay there all the time. We've lived in foreign countries. My wife and I have lived in 2, and I've lived in 3. I lived in 1 before I was married. And but just as quick as I get away from a foreign country, I head back for home.
Yeah.
It's one of the finest places, and I could take all this time explaining why that we live in this north temperate zone, good balance of 4 seasons, right through Kentucky, Virginia, across through here. It's a marvelous place to live.
Yes, great. And even back when you were writing the poems that went into Man with a Bull-Tongued Plow, I believe you had that same kind of idea. There's a poem in here which expresses that idea of going home. Apparently you're away from home when you write it. I wonder if you'd mind reading that for us.
Yes, I can tell you where I wrote this poem. I was hitchhiking home from Lincoln Memorial University and before I got into Berea College, along that road down there somewhere. About
Over 25 somewhere.
Yes, I wrote this poem.
Yeah.
I was standing beside the road and I wrote it. Kentucky, I shall return to you someday to live out in your wind and rain and sun, and watch your trees and fields together run and orchards whiten with the blooms of May. I shall go back and sit before the fires at home and tell tales with a fellow rover. Before I'm cold and the best of life is over, we'll tell of happier days and fighting sires. I shall go back to tramp the crimson leaves that spread like quilts upon the frosty ground. I'll take my gun and faithful hunting hound and be alone where wind and treetop grieves. Kentucky, your dwindling autumn streams flow out across old meadows of my dreams.
Yeah. Well, it is a fantastic thing that has happened. You went home, but you've gone all over the world anyway.
Yes, I go out.
Both literally and figuratively. Your work has gone all over the world, and you have gone all over the world, too.
Yes.
All because you went home.
Because I went home. That's not a bad title, is it, going home?
This program was produced by Western Kentucky University.